Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. So in the previous video we saw what is centralized versus decentralized. In this video we'll understand what is distributed ledger technology. So let's see why do we need distributed ledger technology. So the traditional database limitations are below, that is centralized control, like the single authority governs all the data, creating power imbalance and single point of failure. If like central server goes down, then the whole system is compromised. And security risk, like if the hacker hacks the central server, then the whole data or the network is invalid. And lack of transparency is, users must trust the central authority without any independent verification of records and intermediary dependencies. Okay, so these are the limitations of centralized system. That is the reason distributed ledger technology was introduced, to overcome these limitations. Okay, so next, so what is distributed ledger technology? See, distributed ledger technology is a decentralized system in which the transaction data is shared and all the nodes ledgers are synchronized. I mean, the whatever the ledger or database each node holds, that is all are in same state. Okay, that is what synchronization is mean, and maintain across multiple nodes. Okay, without any central authority or intermediary. See, the traditional system data is stored in the single central location and bank server or any government website. Okay, so one master copy of the records, like only the central authority will have the copy. Okay, and central authority controls the access, and participants must trust the intermediary. Okay, so distributed ledger system. So what we are doing is multiple synchronized copies. Okay, so no single control authority. Okay, and the trust trust is mathematically enforced, that is like trust is distributed among all the nodes. Here you can see in the video the diagram. Blockchain database data is distributed across multiple nodes, like each node has its own ledger. That is what distributed ledger architecture looks like. And here you can see the process of the how the distributed ledger works. Like here data is created, okay, transaction has been initiated, then it is broadcasted and verified, and the ledger updated. Like all the copies of the nodes are like synchronized, all are updated whenever a user initiates and the block is created or the node is verified and validation, all the ledger of all the nodes in the system has been updated. So that is how what is distributed ledger technology is. Okay, next is how DLT works, step by step process. Okay, so first is the transaction is created. Okay, next is broadcasted to the network. So once the user, like support person A has initiated a transaction, like he is sending 1 Bitcoin to person B. Now it is broadcasted to all the networks. Now all the nodes, like node 1, node 2, node 3, node 5, node 6, all have received this that transaction has been created. Now nodes verify the transaction like this. They verify the sender address, receiver address, and the bank balance and amount to be sent and everything, and then consensus is achieved. Like consensus is like an algorithm that nodes run to just validate the transaction. Okay, like proof of work, proof of stake. These are few algorithms, consensus algorithm types. We'll know in upcoming videos. So ledger updated. So after the verification and validation, the ledger is updated and all nodes synchronized. Okay, all nodes are synchronized. So now all the ledgers are updated. So this is how the DLT works. Okay, so next is components of DLT. So these are the components. A ledger, like every node maintains a database or record book that is known as a ledger. All the transactions are stored in this ledger, and this is like every node has an identical copy of the ledger. Nodes are like individual computers or servers that participate in the network. Okay, so consensus mechanism is like it's like a verification or rule book which like every like it makes sure that all the nodes ledgers are in the same state. That is what consensus mechanism do, and it also validates the transactions. So common mechanisms like proof of work, proof of stake, practical Byzantine, fault tolerance. So these are all types of consensus mechanism. We'll know in the later videos. Okay. And cryptographic, we use hashing for to store the previous hash of another function, another the previous block. So that is cryptography. And peer-to-peer network, that is all the nodes directly contact to other nodes without any intermediary. Okay. So next is characteristics and benefits of DLT. So core characteristics are decentralization, distribution, transparency, immutability, and security. Consensus is like algorithm that validates the transactions, and fault tolerance, that is the system continues even when a single node fails. Okay. So practical benefits are like better security, enhanced transparency, faster transactions, lower operational cost, data integrity, trustless environment. Okay. So these are the characteristics and benefits of DLT. So this is like differentiation between traditional database and distributed ledger. It is like centralized, distributed, and this is single master copy. This has multiple synchronized copies among all the nodes and controlled by single authority. This is shared control, like all the nodes are independent and they're not dependent on anyone, and they can make their own decisions. Okay. Like easy to edit or delete blocks. This is immutable. Transparency is limited, here high, and trust on the central authority and trust on the protocol. Vulnerable to single point of attacks, like if the hacker tries to attack the single server and is hacked, then the whole network is compromised. So this is resilient and required for validation and eliminated via consensus. Intermediaries are eliminated via consensus mechanism. Fast for simple queries. This can be slower due to consensus mechanisms, and best uses internal system, and this is multi-party. Okay. So DLT and blockchain. So I think you have to understand what is DLT. DLT is like a broader technology. Okay. And blockchain is a type of DLT. Okay. You can see here also important point to be noted, that is every blockchain is a DLT, but not every DLT is a blockchain. Okay. So DLT differences, like broad technologies is type of DLT. This is distributed records. This is like block links. Okay. In chains, this may use different structure, but it is only block structure. So shared ledger and chain of blocks. Okay. So DLT is a foundation like of distributed record keeping, and blockchain is like a specialized implementation of DLT. Okay. So next, applications of DLT: finance and banking, healthcare, supply chain, digital identity, government and voting, education. Okay. Limitations. So these are the limitations, like scalability issues, like due to consensus overhead, if there are many transactions, then that would be a issue. Okay. And high storage requirements, like have to store, every node will store the full copy of ledger, then that would be a problem. And energy consumption, like proof of work does many mathematical computations to solve the puzzle. It requires a lot of energy. So regulatory challenges, like borderless nature of DLT may create a bit complex legal and compliance questions on jurisdiction and reliability. Okay. And that is nothing but some legal issues can be happen due to DLT, because there is no security in entering. Anyone can enter the network. And network complexity, like deploying and maintaining a distributed requires a specialized maintenance, is very hard. Okay. So takeaways is nothing but DLT is like a distributed digital record keeping system. No central authority is required, and multiple nodes maintain a synchronized ledger copies. Okay. DLT removes dependency on trusted intermediaries. Blockchain is a type of DLT. Okay. And DLT improves transparency, security and reliability. Consensus mechanisms ensure only valid transactions are recorded. Okay. DLT applications like span finance, healthcare, supply chain identity, and governance. Okay, so let's once have a recap of all this. So distributed ledger technology is a decentralized system in which transaction data is shared and synchronized and maintained across multiple nodes. Okay, so here distributed ledger system is like multiple synchronized copies, no single controlling authority. Trust is mathematically enforced. Okay, this is the diagram and this is the working process. How DLT works: transaction is created, then broadcasted, then the notes are verified, then consensus is achieved, that is validation of transactions, then the ledger is updated, and then all notes are synchronized. Okay, components, these are the components: ledger, notes, consensus mechanism, cryptography, peer-to-peer network. Okay, characteristics and benefits, you have to remember these things. Okay, so thank you everyone. So in the Okay, so in the next lecture, we'll understand what is hashing in blockchain. Thank you.